Welcome back to day 20 of our Pose a Day for 100 days. Thank you for sticking with us and learning yoga poses one pose at a time. Today's pose is going to be side angle pose, or Utthita Parsvakonasana in Sanskrit. And so this one we're going to use optional chair. You can use a chair in so many ways. I'll demonstrate maybe two versions, and optional block. When I'm teaching class, I just like to use my thigh or knee, but when we want to deepen the practice, we can use a block or get a little bit lower. All right, let's get started. Start with a nice mountain pose, feet grounded, energy lifting up the front of the body and down the back of the body. Let's take our arms out to the side for a few nice arriving breaths. Take a nice inhale, reaching your palms overhead, and exhale, lowering. Let's add the head raise and look up towards the hands as you exhale, lowering chin to chest, letting yourself arrive to your one pose practice today. Let everything else outside go. Taking one more as you draw the palms overhead. Let's exhale, palms together and down. All right, let's get started. So typically when you're doing poses like this, you maybe want to have already warmed up, at least got the body a little bit warm, the joints a little more mobile. So hopefully maybe you've done one of the other warm-up practices or other bonus practices. So for this one, let's start with the chair. Great chair version. If you feel like your balance might be a little bit challenged, I'm just briefly going to show this. If you want to practice this version, practice along with us as we do the standing version. So I'm sitting forward in my chair. Start with the knees together, sitting up nice and tall, and my ankles are right under my knees. And I take my right knee wide, just as wide as you comfortably can, about a 90-degree angle of your legs, thigh to thigh. Again, our ankles are right under our knees, and maybe a little bit out in front of the knee, just like we would do in a warrior two pose. So this would be our seated warrior. I'm turning my chest slightly towards this left knee, but don't have to turn it all the way. We don't need to over rotate the spine. Bring the palms together and we'll come into our seated warrior two. Arms wide out to the side. So with side angle pose, think about just as it sounds, we want to keep our sides very long. So instead of when we come to side angle, we don't want to just collapse, really compressing the side of my body and my spine. We're going to lengthen. So as we're in our warrior two, I think about reaching to the right side of the room like I'm trying to grab something over there. See how long this side of the body gets? And then I bring either my hand or in this case my forearm to the knee. Now depending on how your shoulders are, if there's any injuries, keep the hand on the hip. And we just want to think about that top shoulder rolling back. In general, your shoulders and your hips are stacked. If the shoulder's okay, I'm going to sweep that arm up and over with the palm facing downward. Now, I want to think about my head. I don't want to drop the head. I want to think of lifting that top ear towards the arm slightly. If the neck feels fine, no injuries or anything like some frayed discs or degenerative discs, you can look up towards the arm. But otherwise, keeping the head neutral, looking forward is just fine. And then you'll hold here and breathe, thinking about that sit bone on the left side of you, just releasing to the chair as you reach up through those left fingertips. We'll take several breaths and then we'll think of using this left side of our abdominals like you've got a string tied to your left fingertips. We'll inhale and we'll come all the way back up. Warrior two. And palms together. Now, if anything about that doesn't feel good on your spine, because the idea here is we want to move the spine kind of as one, right? So if you really feel like to get to the knee, you're collapsing, you could always just keep the hand right on the knee and then do the side angle just a little bit higher so we're not crunching or compressing the lower vertebrae of our spine. All right, and then of course, you would do the same thing on the other side, so you can follow along with us if you want to stay seated in the chair. Another nice use of the chair, there's many ways, again, as I said, to use the chair for side angle pose. But we're going to use it here with the back of the chair, in this case to the right of us. We'll step our feet wide as if we were going to set up in our warrior two stance. Remember, feet wide. I'm going to turn my whole right leg and foot towards the chair in our warrior two feet. And then we'll think of the hips staying in line, or balanced and even, should I say. We'll come to our warrior two, bending that right knee. Think of all those same cues that we used, keeping the knee behind the ankle or just over it. Chair is kind of a nice guide. And keeping the, what was I going to say? I'll think about it. Oh, the knee aligned in between the big and the little toes. All right, so we're in our warrior two. Same idea. Keep that whole right side of your body nice and long as you reach. And I'm going to bring my hand to the chair. So it's there for a guide, a little bit of balance, and I don't have to bend as far down. Same thing, I can either keep my hand on my hip or reach that arm overhead. So imagine you've got a nice straight line from that left wrist to that left ankle. And we're really just reaching through. Try not to grip the toes. We're going to take a few breaths and then we'll come out and we'll switch sides. So I'm going to demonstrate. Then the version I generally like to teach in class and then show the block. I'll show the block just as a version if you're a little more practiced or maybe just a bit more flexible or ready to take it to the next step after you've practiced. You'll start in your warrior two stance and the block is going to be right about at your calf, just behind it. Taking my feet wide. So if you're doing the block version, you want to have a pretty wide stance. Turning that whole right leg again. Arms out to the side. Bending that right knee. Nice grounded warrior. Now, again, we're reaching nice and long to the right side of us, keeping that whole right side of the body nice and long. And then, the version I like to teach is bringing the elbow, forearm to the knee. But if you're a little more practiced, the block is just outside that ankle, I bring my right hand to the block and my left arm over. Maybe looking up towards that left arm. Or again, I'm lifting the ear slightly up towards the arm and energetically reaching all the way through that whole left side of my body. That's the version using the block. Now, we're going to practice together. I'm going to use the elbow on the knee version. You use which one seemed to be more in tune with you today. But remember, as always, especially if you're just starting, be compassionate and kind to yourself. It's not about getting into a perfect pose. It's about what works for your body. So start in a mountain pose in the middle of your mat facing the long edge. If you're using the chair, you're sitting in the chair. We'll step our feet wide, setting up for our warrior two feet. I like to just wiggle my feet a little bit wider. I start with the inner blades of my feet parallel. And then we'll turn the right leg and foot to the right edge of my mat, level off my hips. Look down for a second just as a reminder that front heel or right heel is in line with the arch of the left foot. All right, let's bring our palms together. Take a nice inhale. As you exhale, come into your warrior two. Take a look at that right knee, again, behind or directly over the ankle. Tracking between the big and the little toe, even grounding through both feet. And then we'll side angle stretch over to the right like you're reaching to grab something when it's basically at your limit. Bring that elbow, forearm to your knee. Again, decide that left shoulder's got an injury or just not happy today. Keep your hand on your hip. Or we'll reach the arm overhead. Palms facing towards the floor, bringing the fingers together, extending. So I'm pressing through that whole left foot, thinking of a straight line from my left ankle to my left fingertips. Checking in, if I'm diving towards the floor, my chest is rolling towards the floor, then maybe I come a little bit higher. Maybe my hand stays on my hip. Or I just get higher so I can keep the shoulders stacked and my chest facing forward. And we'll hold here for a few more breaths. Find a nice even inhale, even exhale. So the challenge in holding poses is finding that even breath, listening in what's going on in the body and the mind. All right, on your next inhale, imagine you got a string tied to your left fingertips. Press off that knee. Come all the way up to standing. We'll bring the hands down to the hips. Turn the right foot in. I like to heel toe, start myself back into mountain pose. Again, we'll take the palms together. All right, let's set up for the other side. Hands on the hips. Step your feet wide. Maybe try stepping the opposite foot wider. I think I did that. Set up in your warrior two stance, turning the left leg and foot towards the direction of the left edge of your mat, even hips. Start to bend that left knee, keep an eye on it, check. If you need to iron out that inner thigh to get that knee tracking between the toes, do that. Start with palms together, nice inhale. Exhale, arms wide into your warrior two. All right, long left side body. Reach, reach, reach. Like trying to grab something over there off the wall or off that chair. Then bring the forearm or elbow down to your knee if you need to, so you're not crashing your chest forward. You can also, if the flexibility is there, stretch that back leg back a little bit longer. Take the hand on the hip and roll that right shoulder back. Again, you can keep the hand on the hip, or I'm reaching that right arm over. Really reaching out through the fingertips. Straight line from my right ankle to my right fingertips. Think of the ears slightly lifting up towards the arm. Try not to let the head hang. Don't strain the neck. Notice the shoulders. Want to have our shoulders stacked and in line with our hips. Change if your chest is rolling towards the floor. Lift yourself up. Letting your hand rest on your knee. All right. Couple more breaths here as we hold our Utthita Parsvakonasana side angle pose. Always though, listen to your body if you need to come out. Make sure you do that. If anything doesn't feel right, change the pose, use a chair. All right, you've got a string tied to your right fingertips. Inhale, rise. Warrior two. And straighten the leg, palms together. Hands on hips, gently turn that left foot in. Heel toe the feet together. Stepping back in mountain pose. Let's take a nice inhale, draw the palms overhead. And exhale, palms together and down. Gazing at your own fingertips, send yourself gratitude today for honoring your body, yourself, and all others, and for joining our one pose practice today. Remember, your props are your friends. Don't be afraid to use the chair. Get your body a little bit higher to start. And I thank you, and I'll see you next time.